is easier with Orange Data Bonus. Subscribe to your bundle on #111*1#.
Orange, the 2 p.m. newscast
with
Mapala Zita.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's Royal English Magazine, our Friday regular on 88.4 Royal FM. My name is Mapala Zita. Cameroon has validated the national school feeding strategy, which will see pupils in public primary schools receive meals on a daily. That, ladies and gentlemen, will be our focus on today's Royal English Magazine. This magazine will also feature our news of the day comprising national and international latest news updates, and of course our weekend sports page comes up towards the end of this magazine when Biwa Brian will join me. Ladies and gentlemen, those were the headlines. Good afternoon and welcome. We begin with the first part of this magazine, which is our news of the day, and that is a presentation of Fringwe Crispin. Good afternoon, Crispin.
Good afternoon, Mapala Zita.
2025 presidential election, a special page in the news.
And among growing calls for CAM to be in the post-electoral period, the president of the Party of Patriotic Democrats for the Development of Cameroon, Jean de Dieu Momo, has urged citizens to resist invitation to violence. He made the call after visiting some state properties that were destroyed in Chang, West Region. Here is an excerpt of Jean de Dieu Momo.
My main message is no to violence. Just stay home. Don't go where you are seeing demonstrations. Don't put yourself in danger. We are calling our youth to stay home, not to get outside, because they are innocent. They are not politicians, and they are used by politicians to destroy the country. So we have to be vigilant and to keep our country safe. I'm coming from Chang. They have destroyed the court due to a rumor saying that they are going to manipulate the procès verbal. There was not such a thing. If I went there and I noticed that everything was correct, and our youth are manipulated. We like to stay in a country of peace, to go to our work, to do everything we can do, and we want that peace to continue remaining in our country.
In the meantime, few days from now, the Constitutional Council will declare the winner of the October 12 presidential election. While Cameroonians await results, they have expressed feelings of fear, anxiety, and uncertainty. Take a listen to some of them in this Vox Pop compiled for us by our reporter, Glory Ngange.
We know Cameroon is at a very crucial moment now. We are awaiting to see who is going to be the president of this country for the next 7 years. It's all about prayers. I just think that God is saying something to Cameroonians.
I'm so anxious and afraid. Even though I know the president already, I know who the winner is. I'm just afraid and angry at the same time. In fact, I'm restless, angry, anxious, afraid, and everything.
I have a feeling of fear, a feeling of anxiety because the atmosphere is very uncertain. I don't know what can happen in the next few days. I had to make a journey this week, but I had to call it off to a later date because I am afraid. I don't know what can happen. Because of everything that has been surrounding this election, from one candidate claiming he won, another one claiming he didn't win, another one claiming he has won, with all the alleged malpractices and all the rest, there's a lot of tension.
No situation can make me panic. So I am instead calm. I am confident. What God has decided for us is simply what is going to happen. So there is nothing man can do. God has already decided that this is how it's going to happen. So what is going to happen that day is what God has decided. So I'm doing that is just to pray that what God has decided for us will not be something that's going to bring division or war or conflict among us, because Cameroon is first of all a country where we have little or no things. So if there's conflict anywhere, people are still forced to be divided and start creating disorder and destroying properties, then we are killing ourselves.
The President of the Republic, Paul Biya, and wife Chantal Biya have extended their condolences to the family of the deceased nursery school teacher Zuhairatu, who was shot dead during post-electoral demonstrations in Garoua. The message was delivered yesterday by the senior divisional officer for Benue, Umaru Haman Wabi. The SDO also assured the deceased family that investigations will be open to find out perpetrators of the gruesome act. The Cameroon Teachers Union for Africa have also extended their heartfelt condolences to the family of their colleague. To mourn the nursery school teacher, the union called on colleagues to stay home on October 23 and 24, while calling on the government to carry out investigations to identify and punish the culprits. Ngenfak Edouard Azem is the Secretary General of SECA. Take a listen to him in this excerpt.
SECA mourns the gruesome killing of Madame Zuhaira, an Arabic teacher in a primary school in Pumpumre, Garoua, on the 21st of October 2025. She was shot at close range a few meters from her residence, coming back from school where she had been accompanying the youth towards their preparation to nation building. SECA is calling on all teachers to mourn with. We are calling on teachers to stay home on the 23rd and the 24th October 2025. We, a few days ago, decried as our towns and cities were being militarized. And unfortunately, the first victim is a teacher who has been working in very precarious situations, a teacher who has been working in the most remotest places.
2025 presidential election, that was our special page in the news.
And in other news, World Polio Day is observed today, 24 October, to honor the birth anniversary of Dr. Jonas Salk, the American urologist who developed the first successful polio vaccine in 1955. It is a day set aside to raise awareness on the significance of polio vaccination to protect every child from the devastating disease. On this day, various local, national, and international healthcare organizations come together to conduct several events, campaigns, vaccination, and educational programs to create awareness about the importance of providing vaccines to children to educate or eradicate polio. Widun Kaimbi is a health expert. She defines polio and how it manifests.
Poliomyelitis is actually a flaccid disease caused by a wild poliovirus that paralyzes the leg, causing severe deformity of the limbs. And when this happens, the affected have to crawl on all their fours to move from place to place. It usually takes up to 2 years after exposure to the wild poliovirus to get paralysis. So that is what poliomyelitis is all about. There is a paralysis of the legs, and the paralysis is mostly at the level of the muscles. Since the muscles become so weak, they can no more carry the weight of the body. When a client is suspected to have poliomyelitis, we can have symptoms that vary from the paralysis of the limbs. We have severe deformity. We can observe fevers. We can observe neck stiffness. We can observe respiratory infections that can even cause respiratory failures in these patients.
The disease can be transmitted through person-to-person contact, primarily from contact with the feces of an infected person or from droplets from a sneeze or cough. When infected with the virus, the health expert reviews:
Poliomyelitis is not treated. Poliomyelitis is only prevented. But once you are exposed to the wild poliovirus, they can only manage the symptoms, and the management of the symptoms is generally supportive, where when the patient is in severe pains, we use pain medication. Patients who are already having respiratory failure, they place them on mechanical ventilation. Patients who are having very high temperatures, they give them medications for temperature. Some patients may undergo surgeries where there's a complete joint replacement. We can prevent poliomyelitis by following the routine vaccination programs for children. Actually has polio vaccine as one of the vaccines that is being administered at birth, and the first dose is given at week 6 when the child is 6 weeks, which is usually the oral form of the polio vaccine. And when the child is 10 weeks, they give the second dose of the oral polio vaccine. When the child is 14 weeks, the child comes to the hospital and they are given the third dose of the polio vaccine, which is usually the injection, because the injectable form of the vaccine will cover for some strains of the virus that is not covered by the oral vaccine. So when the child is 14 weeks, the child receives the third dose, which is usually the injection, and the child receives the last dose when the child is 9 months.
On to economic news. According to the Bank of Central African States, BEAC, latest monetary policy report released this month, Cameroon and Chad have recorded the lowest banking rates within the CEMAC banking landscape, while Gabon and Equatorial Guinea stand at the top. We question an economist on what could account for this low banking rate in Cameroon, despite the many banks found in the country. Take a listen to the director of the Cameroon Economic Policy Institute, Henri Kwam.
The rate of bank account ownership in Cameroon is very low, that's true, compared to countries like Ghana, where up to 68% of people own a bank account. But that's due to a number of factors. The first is financial literacy. People are simply not educated about the importance of owning a bank account. And the second thing is that although the Minister of Finance asked local banks to provide 21 services for free to Cameroonians, we're not sure that that's being done. And so most people decry the high cost of banking services. Thirdly, the infrastructure gaps are still there. If you own a bank account, it's difficult to link your mobile money account. And so some people find that even where that interoperability is possible, it's still very, very challenging. And so it's important for the banks themselves to ensure that there's a much more seamless service, and also to ensure that there's greater transparency, because people need to understand the charges that are imposed on their account, why they are being charged, to ensure that they trust the financial system.
Out of the country, police in Ghana has rescued 57 Nigerians trafficked to the West African country and arrested 5 people suspected of operating a cybercrime and human trafficking ring. Police raided a building in the suburb of the capital, Accra, and on Wednesday, where victims between the ages of 18 and 26 were housed and forced to engage in online romance scam. Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara has called on the country's youth to vote in large numbers in the upcoming presidential election, touting himself as the candidate most committed to their welfare. Voters in the nation of 32 million, one of West Africa's economic powerhouse, are due to cast their ballot on Saturday, with 83-year-old Ouattara running against four other candidates. The election is being held amid political tensions after key opposition figures were barred from running. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced an immediate end to all trade negotiations with Canada over an advert critical of tariffs he has imposed on the nation. Trump wrote on social media that the advert was faked, adding that trade talks were hereby terminated. Back to you, Mapalazita.
Thank you very much, Frinwe Crispin. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have this beautiful piece of music which will lead us into the heart of our magazine.
Jonathan was once a little child. He went to school today. My president, Uncle Oyedepo, was once a little child. He went to school today. A great minister, Auntie Okonjo-Iweala, was once a little child. She went to school today. Ambassador, education is the key. Education is the power. Education is the key. Education is the secret. Education is the key. Education is the knowledge. Education. Education is the key. 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 Uncle Rochas was once a little child. He went to school today. He's my governor. Brother Ima Okore was once a little child. He went to school today. He's my minister. Auntie Dara Kuyili was once a little child. She went to school today. Ambassador. I love to go to school to learn to read and write. I love to go to school. I want to be a doctor. I love to go to school to learn to read and write. I love to go to school. I want to be a lawyer. Education. Education is the key. 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 Uncle Jonathan was once a little child. He went to school today. My president, Uncle Oyedepo, was once a little child. He went to school today. A great minister, Auntie Okonjo-Iweala, was once a little child. She went to school today. Ambassador. Education is the key. Education is the power. Education is the key. Education is the secret. Education is the key. Education is the knowledge. Education. Education is the key. 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 I love to get to school, to learn to read and write. I love to get to school. I want to be
The 2025-2030 National School Feeding Strategy has been validated in Yaoundé following a workshop that took place last Wednesday, October the 22nd, 2025, chaired by the Minister of Basic Education in the presence of other members of government as well as partner organizations. Our editorialist and director of information here at Royal FM, Abel Bela Samari, in the following editorial looks at the success of such an initiative.
Based on existing programs and the prevalence of hunger and malnutrition in Cameroon, the necessity of canteens in public primary school is critical for improving children's health and academic performance. These school feeding initiatives are often supported by international organizations like the World Food Programme and non-governmental organizations, sometimes in partnership with the Cameroon government. However, many are wondering if such a project can effectively work in Cameroon, looking at our context. Yes, canteens and school feeding programs can work effectively in Cameroon, as evidenced by successful past and ongoing initiatives implemented by non-governmental organizations and international bodies like the World Food Programme. For instance, a program in the Northwest region once fed over 27,000 school children, leading to dramatic increase in school attendance and performance. We cannot completely forget or leave out the far north region, who for some time have equally benefited from the school canteen projects. However, the large scale and sustainable implementation of school canteen faces a number of hurdles, including financing, logistics, and infrastructure. Financing school canteens in public primary schools is a significant challenge for the government of Cameroon, but it is not impossible to overcome these hurdles. The government is pursuing a blended approach that combines its own budgetary allocation with targeted support from international partners, local resources, and active involvement of communities. Corruption, if allowed to take an upper scale, can profoundly and negatively affect school canteen projects in Cameroon, as it is widely documented that the education sector in the country is vulnerable to corrupt practices. These risks exist in every level, from national to local school administration, and can undermine the project's goal of improving people's health and education. Misappropriation of funds and embezzlement. Funds allocated by the government or donors for school feeding can be illegally diverted by officials at the national or regional level. Some funds are disbursed based on enrollment number. A project could be defrauded by administrators, inflating the number of pupils or teachers to receive more resources. Mismanagement of Parents-Teacher Association Fund, a recurrent issue in Cameroon, could occur if these community-based raised funds are co-opted to support the canteen project but are later misappropriated. Contracts for supplying food might be awarded to unqualified vendors through bribes or favoritism rather than through fair and transparent bidding. This can result in low quality food, reduced nutritional value, and inflated prices. We live in Cameroon, and we all know that school supplies, including food staples meant for the canteen, can be stolen and sold on the private market. If contracts are awarded based on bribes, canteens and kitchens may be poorly constructed with substandard materials to maximize profit. This could lead to health hazard for our children. To ensure the success and integrity of school canteen projects, anti-corruption measures must be integrated. Then the Cameroon government, through bodies like the National Anti-Corruption Commission, need to establish and enforce strict oversight. These include independent audit and public expenditure tracking survey to monitor where funds go. Programs that involve parents and local community in managing the canteens, such as the homegrown model, can increase accountability and ownership. The use of technology can help reduce opportunities for human contact that often enable corruption. Creating accessible and protected channel for denouncing corruption like CONAC hotline can help expose misconduct and hold perpetrators accountable. Continued collaboration with reputable international organizations like the World Food Programme and NGOs can provide expertise in risk mapping and implementing the robust financial control. School canteens are important for a variety of reasons, extending beyond simple providing food. They are critical resources for people's health and well-being as they pursue their education.
During the workshop to validate the National School Feeding Strategy, the Secretary General, or rather the Secretary of State to the Minister of Basic Education, Dr. Asheri Kilo Vivian, highlighted the importance of the long-awaited project to pupils in Cameroon. Let's listen to her in this excerpt.
The workshop this morning is a long-awaited workshop to validate the national strategy for school feeding in Cameroon. It has been a long walk. If you listen to the Minister of Basic Education, Professor Laurent Sechetundingwa, he talked about the number of workshops that the Ministry of Basic Education has held with all our partner ministries and our technical partners to ensure that we come up with a good strategy for school feeding for our children in Cameroon. We took the experience from other countries in Africa and the world that have done excessively well in feeding their children in school. And we took stock of the fact that when you feed children at school, you give them the impetus to go to school and to stay in school. It also socializes them, makes them understand that when you eat at school together, you build a community spirit. We have noted that countries like Brazil, Benin, and Ghana have done so well with this. We have partners in Cameroon, NGOs, that have done exceedingly well in this as well. Nestle Solution can be picked out, and of course the World Food Programme has worked with us tirelessly to come to this point, and for that we want to thank them.
The nature of some school canteens in Cameroon are not up to standard as they lack food that provide learners with good and healthy meals. Glory Ngange spoke to some pedagogues who appreciate the National School Feeding Project as well as propose collaborative strategies to realize the initiative. Here is her report.
Also referred to as school cafeteria, canteens are spots in school premises where meals are prepared and served. According to Ngu Mohammed, a canteen should ensure the health and safety of pupils.
It is of great importance to the educational community, and we must know that canteens in schools involve food safety, nutrition, cost, service quality, and the educational value. When we talk of canteens, we make reference of school safety and hygiene, meaning that schools are required to follow strict food safety regulations, the quality of ingredients, storage conditions.
However, the reality in most existing school cafeterias in the country is discouraging, as Julius Neighbor points out.
There are a good number of canteens in some schools. They have a minimal or balanced diet in some days, but some also are really a sham. Most of the time, the food in the canteens are not even offered by the schools. There are individuals or enterprises that take on this contract to give this food to these children.
Julius Neighbor also highlights the importance of healthy meals to learners in their academic activities.
Feeding is one of the key healing. Psychologically, it has proven that the meal we take has something to do with our cognitive level. That means our understanding of knowledge. It is but normal that the learners should eat well. A balanced diet is a meal that has all the classes of food in its right proportion. You have to be a nutritionist before you sell in such environment.
With the validation of the National School Feeding Strategy, administrators will need to work hand in glove with several stakeholders to improve on the conditions of school canteens. Ngu Mohammed once again.
School can partner with local food banks to provide meals to students in need. They can collaborate with the local farmers and agricultural groups. We have the integration of technology, use of mobile apps, online platforms. We have engagement with health and nutrition experts, involve parents and guardians in meal planning and decision-making process. We also have the government policy to ensure that the meals reflect the needs and preference of the student.
The National School Feeding Strategy has as goal to reach at least 1 million students by 2030, representing an annual growth rate of 55.6%.
As parents increasingly prioritize their children's nutrition, the debate surrounding school canteens versus home-packed meals has come to the forefront. In this report, Ngang Nadesh explores parents' perception of school canteens, their level of satisfaction with the meals provided, and whether they prefer home-cooked meals or canteen subscriptions for their children.
Linda expresses general support for the concept of school canteens, but admits to being hesitant about registering her kids due to concerns over hygiene standards and food safety.
I think school canteens are a good idea in theory. They save time and give the children access to meals during school hours. However, my comfort level really depends on the hygiene and quality of the food being served in the canteen. In many school canteens, food are not properly preserved and the food might not always meet safety standards. That's what makes me a bit hesitant.
Daisy and Noeline both share a similar view about the hygiene and safety of food in school canteens.
I would like my children that snacks from house and eat in school. I don't like the issue of eating in school canteen because it's not like I'm condemning others, but for the safety of my children, they might eat something in school and you worry their stomach or the proper hygiene of it is not well kept. So I try my best to always make their snacks and give them before they leave the house.
I prefer putting my kids' snack and putting them in their bag. If it's their water or their juice, I put everything there. Because those food canteens, those foods like that, I'm just like, it's not well prepared. Time I come back to the house and my stomach is paining and so on and so forth.
For her part, after 7 years of subscribing to the school canteen service, Solange expresses satisfaction with the quality of food provided, but she has concerns regarding the quantity of the food served.
My kids are registered in their canteen since like 7 years, and so far I'm satisfied because the quality of the food is good. The environment of the canteen is very clean. My only problem is the quantity of the food because kids are growing, and as they are growing, their system demand more food progressively. So if the canteen is not increasing the quantity of the food depending on the class of the child, it can make the child cry of hunger in school. That is what I'm experiencing personally, and for that reason, my kids, themselves have told me to stop the canteen and make them snacks or food from the house.
She also points out the convenience of subscribing to the school canteen service, noting that it significantly reduces the workload on parents as they no longer have to prepare and pack meals, as well as cost savings.
Paying for the canteen in school reduces the work for the parent, waking up very early in the morning to make food for the kid. Meanwhile, you can just pay the money for the canteen and just forget about making food. The kids can just have breakfast in the morning and off they go to school. But doing it in the house, you will need gadgets like the lunch box, the lunch bag, and then you have to make food, wake up early in the morning. Personally, I don't have the strength for that.
Ultimately, the debate between homemade meals and school canteens isn't just about which one is superior, but rather about finding a balance that works for each family. While homemade meals offer personalized care and nutrition, school canteens provide convenience, socialization, and a structured dining experience. Acknowledging the strengths of both options can help parents and schools work together to create a system that supports the unique needs of each pupil, ensuring they receive the nutrition and care they need to thrive.
And they need energy food. So in the morning, they can get up, they can take tea with milk. You can give them 2 slices of bread. For snacks that they are taking to school, I think you can make them fried Irish potato. You can fry it with egg. The next day, you can make spaghetti with egg and fruits too. Accompany their food with water and fruits. Please, we should stop giving those children those sweet things that they take to school. We have things like this bonbon that we like giving them. Give them biscuits. We give them mambo. We give them all those sweet things. Some of them are instead destroying their teeth, as we know, and those things we should replace them with fruits. You can buy just 1 orange for that child. So you replace that sweet that you're buying. Oranges to give the child what vitamin C. It can strengthen the child's teeth, strengthen the child's bones, contain vitamin D and vitamin C, give the child appetite to also eat. Avoid all those frying things like mostly flour dishes, buy gâteau along the roadside, changer bread with chocolate and all those sweet things. You can make good rice and stew. The child can eat in the morning and take some to school alongside with water and fruits. Those children, they need more of energy food and protein food. Things like we have Irish potato, we have rice, we have spaghetti. Those are lighter foods that the child is supposed to eat in the morning to go to school, and can still take some to school, and then the child can take you can make it a habit that the child should consume at least 1 type of fruits a day. Some of the children, they eat those sweet things and they are obese. Their weight are more than them, and a child around 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, you see the child obese. You see some of these children, they have heart problem at a younger age because of the kind of foods that they have been consuming. Let's avoid fatty food for those children. And fatty foods are foods like this junk food. We have biscuits, chocolate, mambo, butter. Can replace butter with pear. This avocado, also a good fat source. If the children feel like that, I believe the children will be healthy and they will not be sick.
And to be more complete on our magazine topic, it is time to get expert view. Our guest on that note is a teacher and school administrator, John Nibache, with whom I had a phone chat earlier today. Take a listen to our exchange. Good afternoon to you, John Niba. You are welcome to today's Royal English Magazine.
Good afternoon, Mapala Zita, and good afternoon to listeners of Royal FM 88.4.
Sir, do you have a canteen in your school? And if yes, what is its hygienic state?
Okay, thank you. Presently, where I am in the far north in GPP Zamai, we don't have a canteen, but we have an NGO that supplies rice to children. And the rice is supplied at the beginning of the school year. And then the parents, especially the female parents, are organized in groups to pass every month and cook for the children. So they come very early in the morning, they do the cooking, and before 11 o'clock, that is break time, the food is ready. But it is rice every day, rice and mixed with a certain type of soya beans. And that is how we do it. It's not a canteen. But I've worked in schools in Yaoundé, lay private schools that had canteens. And well, only children of rich people go to the canteens and eat there. So the canteen does not really solve the problem because it discriminates and makes some only children of people who can afford eat in the canteen.
John Niba, does your school even check the quality of food sold to children? And how often is that control being carried out?
Schools that have canteen, there are special hygienic conditions that are put in place. The place is always very clean. Even first of all, the person managing the canteen is supposed to go through a series of medical tests to prove that that person is free from any sickness. And then after that, the person will have to collect a certificate that proves that is worthy to prepare and sell food to children. And then we also have teams from the Ministry of Health that work with the Ministry of Basic Education. They pass around in schools to check the type of things that are sold in the canteen, because they make sure that things like groundnut sweet, this Alaska or Folere are not sold in such places. So these teams always pass and check how hygienic the place is, and also check what are the things that are sold in such places. But Mapala Zita, the problem that most schools face in big cities is that people come from outside to sell around the school premises, and the head teachers or the principals, they cannot actually control them because they will tell you they are outside and you cannot leave your school, come out of the fence to come and control what they sell. So things that are not sold inside the school are actually sold outside, just near the entrance. So that is where the policy of protecting children against certain types of items fails. Anyway, it's not actually the school that checks. Normally you have what they call médecins scolaires. Those are the people who check. The Ministry of Health, working in conjunction with the health districts, send teams to check the hygienic condition of the canteen. But that notwithstanding, the schools can equally check. The head teacher and principals of schools can assign teachers who are responsible for the canteen. They go and check and make sure that the canteen is very clean, and then the quality and quantity of food that is served there is good.
We got information that the Ministry of Basic Education, in union with the World Food Programme, is envisaging a project where children will be fed in schools. Joniba, according to you, how feasible is this project, especially with the realities of public primary schools in the country?
Okay, thank you very much, Zita. If the government of Cameroon and the World Food Programme thinks that children should be offered free meals in schools, it will be a good idea, because even in Yaoundé or in Douala, you see most of these children, they live on bread and butter or bread and chocolate. And then during break, you see how children from rich homes devour their chicken and other nice delicacies, while children from poor homes struggle with their dry bread or bread and butter. I think if the government were to actually work towards that, it will help especially the northern regions of our country, and maybe, should I say, war-torn regions, that's the north and the southwest, where they are facing the Anglophone crisis, and then life is becoming so difficult there. So it would be a good initiative, Zita, because if you don't come to the northern regions, to the far north, to the north, and then maybe part of the Adamawa region, you will not know that there are many children here that suffer malnutrition, especially in the far north here and the north. There is only one farming season. And what betides those who do farming and their crops do not perform well during that season, they will need to wait for another season. Or if they are unable to preserve the crops in such a way that they will eat all through the year. So it becomes so difficult here. The farming season is only one here in the far north, and farmers struggle to gather a bit and keep and ration it for the whole year, which becomes so difficult for them. So I think it is actually a priority and a good initiative if all the schools in the northern regions here and the northwest and southwest, some of them there, could be placed under programs like that, where food is provided to children through the school canteens, free food. But you also understand that when the NGOs they provide food, there is also another problem, the problem of fuel, that is maybe cooking gas or wood to cook the food, because here in my school in the far north, it will interest you to know that they sell food to children every break time. But the children too, they also have to bring wood every day, which is not easy. To have a piece of firewood every blessed day you are going to school is not easy. So those are things government should think, whether are they going by gas or they are going by wood. And then I think government should actually plan on that before implementing such a project.
Okay, John Niba, I know you are not a food scientist, but does the quality of food a child eats have any effect on their academic performance?
Okay, thank you. The quality of food eaten by a child, without being a nutritionist, Zita, you know I'm a teacher, I'm not a nutritionist. I want to say that the first advantage the quality of food has for a pupil or a student is that that child will be healthy and the child will not fall sick so often. And so a child that is healthy will be able to attend classes regularly, because that's the greatest problem here in the far north where we are. Children keep on, I am sick all the time. They complain of sickness. They go home because you, the teacher, feel that they don't feed well. So if children eat a balanced diet, first of all, they'll be healthy, they will fall sick rarely, and so they will have to attend classes regularly. That's the first thing. And then there are some types of foods that give them energy to sustain them, not to sleep in class, to be able to sit up, to follow lessons, and to participate in class actively. But if you would like to get more, you can meet nutritionists. I don't want to say things I am not versed with.
That, of course, I perfectly understand, John Niba. Now, before we go, sir, any proposals about today's topic?
If I had to make a proposal, I would like to tell government that to me it is a good initiative because it fights, first of all, social discrimination where children from rich homes have very rich food to eat. And then it will also help to support parents in zones like the far north and the north regions where there is only one farming season. But I also want to let government know that they should not only concentrate on the type of foods, but they should see whether would the food be cooked and served to children in school, or if it is in case where they have to supply foodstuffs for the head teacher to organize how cooking will be done, they should take into consideration fuel, because fuel is really needed for such things.
John Niba, I want to thank you very much for taking out time to respond to our questions.
Thank you very much, Zita. Thank you. My regards to all the journalists of Royal FM, especially Bella Samari, and to you, Mapala Zita. And then special greetings to the Reverend Pastor Emmanuel Noy Bisaya.
We now talk sports with Biwa Brian. Good afternoon, Brian.
Good afternoon, Mapala Zita.
Brian, the senior Lionesses yesterday lost to Algeria by 1-2 and will now hope for good results in the second leg to qualify for the Women's Africa Cup of Nations.
The storied indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon are facing a stiff challenge in their quest for a 2026 Women's African Cup of Nations after suffering a 2-1 defeat to Algeria in the first leg of their final qualifying round tie. The loss, which took place in Oran last evening, means the Lionesses must secure a strong victory in the return leg to keep their bid for continental competition alive, especially after failing to qualify during the last edition in 2024. This crucial return leg fixture has been set for Tuesday, October 29, 2025 at the Unification Stadium in Douala, with kickoff scheduled for 3:30 p.m. local time. Sports analyst Lawrence Kede watched yesterday's game and points out their wrongs.
I think Cameroon showed one of the poorest image we've seen in Cameroon women football for the past maybe 5 years. The build up to this game was really chaotic because local players were playing for months, and at the end of the day we had just 5 local players selected and all the rest are professionals coming from their various destinations to meet in Nigeria, and some even came at the eve of the game. So on the pitch of play, that was really seen. Naomi Eto'o was completely lost at the midfield. Charlotte Mayong too completely lost. Monique completely lost. I mean, the midfield triangle was totally absent from the game, and once we lost that composure at the midfield, we lost completely the control of the game. We lacked mobility to shake the Algerian defense. And luckily for us, at the end of the day, we got that penalty that was converted by Ajara to give us a glimpse of hope in the return match.
Still in women's football, the under-17 Lionesses will play their last group game at the World Cup today in a bid to qualify for the next stage, Brian.
The Baby Lionesses will face a defining moment in their World Cup campaign tonight as they take on Mexico in their final Group B fixture at 8 p.m. Cameroon time. Having suffered 2 defeats in the group stage so far, the under-17 Lionesses currently sit at the bottom of the table, with their path to the knockout stage now highly improbable, yet mathematically possible. To secure a spot in the next phase, the Baby Lionesses must seek to finish as one of the best third-place teams, meaning the team must not only win convincingly against Mexico to drastically improve their -2-goal difference, but also rely on favorable results from other group results. Sports analyst Ngome Michael states that the game will be less of a tactical game, but more of a battle of will.
2 games for the under-17 Lionesses and 2 defeats for them, despite the fact that in their second game it looked likely at some point that they will be getting a consolation point. But however, just like in the first game, things didn't turn out for them in the scene out at least with a point, which goes further to complicate their chances of making it to the knockout stage at this competition. However, if we look at the way the girls have been operating in their first game, there's some sort of overturned a 2-0 trailing scoreline to tie the game at 3-3 against the Netherlands, who we must note that are current European champions in the under-17 Euros out there in Europe. You have to understand that the opponents, just like North Korea, to whom they lost limely today, are equally defending champions in the FIFA World Cup in this category. So the opponents the Lionesses have been playing are not lightweight, and if you look at their performance as well, it's not discouraging at all.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the package we gathered for you on today's Royal English Magazine. We received technical assistance from Romuald Ekume. Along Kwekam took care of the cameras for our social media handles. Production assistance Biwa Brian. Script editing and editorial coaching Abel Bela Samari. Central coordination Roger Kiek, our station manager, and general supervision by the Reverend Pastor Bisai Emmanuel Noel. For news editing and presentation, my name is Mapalazita. Thank you all for listening, and do have a pleasant afternoon in the company of programs over Royal FM. Up next is Geopolitics.